they have questions.
They have questions, okay.
Yeah, both have questions.
Both
But
have
there is, of course, a difference because the scientists, the question they have are different from children's question, and the way they answer the questions has to be systematically.
The scientists must be
Yeah.
systematic.
That's the difference.
That's the difference.
So, most important is if you have a research you would like to carry out, then first question you have is, what is my research question?
What is the research question?
Yeah, if you do not have a research question, you cannot do research.
Okay.
Yeah?
That's
You cannot do scientific work. Whenever you like to do scientific work, you have to have a question. Yeah, this is personally different. So one person has a question in mind, the other one has to search for, to look for a question because it's not clear yet. So how to find the research question or research questions? This is a question. This is the start, the starting point. So, but everybody who would like to do a PhD later on already finished a bachelor or master degree. So they have already some experiences with scientific work. So they have, so to speak, they have experiences. So they have some idea about their discipline. Yeah? And from this overview about their discipline, they can develop a research question. This is point one. Further on, maybe they remember they had a discussion with their supervisor of the MA thesis. And they remember there was still this question we couldn't answer. So this could be a research question. Or someone discussed specific scientific questions with friends or colleagues. It's also possible. And last but not least, the most important is that a person would like to write a dissertation later on has a specific scientific interest. Without interest, you cannot work. Right. So, starting point is to have or to develop a research question with a specific interest. Now you have the question. And you can formulate the question, then you have the title. Yeah? And then you can immediately start to develop a hypothesis. So hypothesis means you answer the question. It's a preliminary answer of the question.
Of the question.
Yeah, you can do that. But it will not be very helpful because first of all, first you started with a question and then the next step will be you cannot directly answer. Then you need not to do scientific research. So we never start, if we do a research, we never start at point zero. We always have a specific knowledge. And especially the scientific community has a lot of knowledge. Yeah? There is nobody who can just start with a question and will mention, well, my question is a question nobody has had this question before. There's always something. As someone said, we are all standing on the shoulders of giants. Yeah. So there are many generations before us, generations of scientists who worked in this discipline, and we learn from this discipline and from these giants who lived before us, yeah, and have given us a lot of knowledge already. And we usually start with it. And how can we start it? We have to read literature. First of all, we have this research question developed, and then we have to look for literature concerning our research question. There's always literature on it, books, articles, whatever, journals. Yeah. So someone who would like to do research starts with a research question and then go in detail, go in the literature. You start somewhere, I can say, but the most important step might be there is someone you know, a scientist you know, and he has written a book. So you take the book, it's quite similar to your research question, and read this book.
Read the books.
Follow his argumentation. And you see also the books he cited, yeah, in his book. And so first of all, you read the book, you try to understand his argumentation, and you should summarize what he has written. Yeah, first book, from the book. Then you see, after a while, you see what books he cited. And then you use the books he cited as well. Take the next book. Yeah? Read the book, try to understand, write down, in summarizing the results. Okay, and so follow one book to another. It's in German we would say it's a snowball effect. Snowball. Now this is a very bad example because in Indonesia there is no snow.
Oh, okay.
Yeah? But I can very easily explain. In countries where you have snow, you can use your hands, take some snow and make a ball. Yeah? And if you use this ball in the snow, roll it in the snow, this ball becomes bigger and bigger. So, concerning our example, your knowledge, if you read one book, the next book will grow. Yeah? It will always become bigger and bigger. And so you have more and more knowledge about your topic. Yeah? And now let me see, next step. What I wanted to make clear is, without reading the relevant scientific literature to the topic you would like to work on, you cannot do scientific work. You cannot fulfill your research project. Yeah? First of all, you have the idea, the question, then you have to read literature concerning this research. You have to find out what is the relevant literature. And without that, you cannot start your research really. This is already part of the research project, of your own research project. So, and you have to do this work anyway, later on. So better to start as early as possible. Before writing a proposal, or this is part of writing a proposal. Yeah? Before writing a proposal, one has to read relevant books to the topic. Okay? In the way I described. So, and to start with this is so as early as possible, and later on in your proposal, you have to mention all the books you read so far. This is scientific standard, and you have to mention it at the end of your proposal. All the books you have read, you have to cite.
Did they have a standard? How many books did?
No, there's no standard. Some people have just two. Yeah, it's not that much.
Okay.
Depends on if you have a dissertation, there might be 100, 200, 300. It depends. No? It depends on the subject. So, this is scientific standard, and this information, the books you read already, is also helpful for your supervisor later on to understand your research approach much better. What could be a possible answer? What could be a possible answer on your research questions? But these answers are still untested. It's just an idea. This could be an answer and will be verified in your research project. Okay. It's a preliminary answer.
Okay.
Yeah? Preliminary answer, and you will prove this preliminary answers in the research process. That's the idea. But there are usually not one hypothesis, but many. And you will find out if they are right or not. We talk about to verifying it or falsifying. This is both possible. So it's important to keep in mind, there's always in this process of develop a proposal, there's always this interrelation between research question, literature studies, and formulation or modification of hypothesis. Yeah? In this process, you will modify your hypothesis because you learn much more, and then the answers might be modified or different. That's the idea in this longer process. Okay? Yeah? What kind of methods will you use to verify or falsify your hypothesis? So I give you some examples. Research methods could be or can be, depending on the disciplines you're working on. For example, test proceedings, qualitative or quantitative methods, or questionnaire, or observation, and so on and so on. There are many opportunities. It has to fit, yeah, to your research question. So the research methodology in social scientists, for social scientists, are different, for example, from an engineer. They are doing different things, so they need different methodologies. Usually, for a PhD, you need 3 years time.
3 years.
3 years, from the beginning to finishing the whole project with a dissertation, yeah, writing. 3 years. And this you have to schedule, you have to think about how much time do I need for this, for the pure field research, for example, and for the writing. And you have to make a schedule for the 3 years, for example. And I think, first, it helps you, it helps the applicant to bring his or her brain and thinking concerning the planned research project in order. Yeah?
In order, yes.
In order,
Yes.
yeah? He or she is thinking about, with a question, with literature, with a hypothesis, etc., is thinking about and brings it in order so he or she is prepared for the next 3 years. That's the idea. That's first. Second is, it helps the supervisor, yeah, to understand what and how are planning or how you are planning your research, and keep in mind your supervisor is an expert already. He is an expert in the field of your study. Otherwise, he cannot be your supervisor. He is an expert. And with reference to your proposal, he or she can give you theoretical and practical advice to improve your proposal, or as well as your research project in general. Huh? So at the beginning you give your proposal to the supervisor, he reads it, understands it, and gives you some advice. I would like to do, I don't understand this, we'll ask you, etc. And in this context it's very helpful to have the list of literature, yeah, you used, because he is an expert and he knows the most relevant literature, and with in a very short time he is able to understand how you will argue, because he knows the literature as well. Yeah? So this is all very helpful. But there's a third aspect, why and what is the proposal for, and this is your proposal will help you not to get lost in the what I would call the research jungle. Huh? During your practical research work, if you are in this jungle, then sometimes you have to do this and that and that, and then you think yourself sometimes, what I'm doing, yeah? I don't know anymore because I did this and this and that, and it's so unstructured. And then you have a look on your research program and it reminds you, oh, this is the structure of my research. So it's very helpful. So your research proposal in the first instance is written for you, for yourself, and not for someone else. It's very important. but it's also for the supervisor and for everyone. So, to summarize, what does it mean to prepare and how to write a proposal? First, development of the research question or questions. Secondly, literature studies, reading, understanding, summarizing. Third, development of hypotheses, one or more hypotheses. Fourth, finding the appropriate research methodology. Fifth, prepare a preliminary time schedule for a research project. I mentioned this also. And sixth, the list of literature you read already. If you fulfill all this task, then I think you will have a good proposal. To write the proposal is still some work, but it takes usually not 1 day or 2 days, it takes usually some weeks or some months.